Today on Homeworthy, we're diving into the world of decor inspired by Facebook Marketplace finds. First, we'll step inside a collected and layered one-bedroom apartment in Los Angeles that's a sanctuary for creative expression. Next, we'll explore a Denver apartment with a funky yet timeless aesthetic. Finally, we'll tour a New York City apartment that blends personal artwork with incredible secondhand finds. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Lo. Welcome to my apartment in Los Angeles.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Lo Sadler. I'm an editor and a content creator, and we're in my home in Los Angeles, California. I've lived in this apartment for almost 5 years now. I found it on Craigslist, actually. I got very lucky. I was leaving an apartment that was horrible. I didn't even end up finishing my lease there. I found this on Craigslist. I ended up qualifying for the apartment maybe a week later, and I immediately started packing my stuff, moved in, and I had unpacked like a week later, I think. When I first came and saw this apartment, I fell in love with the windows. They were really the focal point of the room, and even though the room was a weird yellow-brown color, I knew that I could add some paint, or a lot of paint actually. I even painted the windows. But the original character and the details in here were just my favorite thing. They really drew me to the whole apartment. So this is a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. I'm not 100% sure about the square footage, but it's pretty spacious, I think, for a typical 1-bedroom in LA. I've got a really long hallway, a vintage bathroom that has all of the old tile, but it's pretty large for one person and a cat. Welcome to my living room. It's small but mighty, I like to think. And there are a lot of objects in here, a lot of found objects, I think is what the people call them. A few things have like some cool stories, but I've got kind of an eclectic gallery wall. Actually, I think my favorite piece on the gallery wall is this sort of mirror mosaic thing. I actually got that in Morocco, and I didn't have any space in my suitcase, so I just had to like carry that around with me on multiple flights. But I think it was worth it. I think it looks very cool and nice. One of the focal points in my apartment, I think, is the gallery wall. I've had it up for a while, but I'm constantly like rearranging the art, bringing in new pieces, bringing in pieces that I've had for a long time. Another thing I like to do with gallery walls is like make them a little dynamic if I can. Like I don't really love to have things that are all the same shape or all the same orientation. I love putting as much stuff as I can in there. I got these legs actually from my boyfriend's dad. He saw them, and I think he knew that I would love them because I love creepy figurines and busts and old crumbly things. But if I got these from a vintage store, I know they would have cost like hundreds of dollars probably, but they were free 99, so I just threw some beads in there, and I kind of think it's cute. I also love small lights and candles. Like that's my thing. I very rarely turn on like big lights in my apartment, but I have this lamp. It's from, I think, DCW Editions is how you say their name, but it's like a touch to start, and I feel like that's really cool. I also have candles burning. Right now I've got bergamot and shisho candle burning. It's from PF Candle Co. I love them. I have their candles like all throughout my apartment. I'm kind of a hoarder when it comes to candles. That's my character flaw, I guess. But I've got a little bit of more creepy figurines sort of speckled in on my console here. These I grabbed just at Goodwill, I think, or maybe Salvation Army, and I use them as bookends. This apartment, when I moved in, it only had one electrical light source, and I switched out their fixture and added a new one, but because it would get dark in here at nighttime, I was like, how can I get some more renter-friendly-ish lighting? So I ended up hanging these two sconces. They're from CB2 actually, and they're real marble, so they're very heavy. Actually, right before you guys got here, one fell off the wall. It literally fell off the wall, and I almost had a breakdown, but we were able to get it back up before you came in. We used a bunch of anchors. I also have a chandelier that I sort of just mounted to the ceiling. There is no electrical connecting that to anything. I usually just have a puck light in there so I can sort of turn it on when I need to, but really I just hung it because I think it looks cute. I thought it could sort of be a part of the gallery wall as well. And it looks a bit funky, but I love when I have things coming down from the ceiling because it's such a big unused space. This corner is an interesting corner. I've had people question me about it a few times, but I don't watch a ton of TV, but when I do, I like to be able to like just watch TV easily. I know a lot of people like hide their TVs and they have the frame TV, which I think is very cool, but until I can afford a frame TV, I just got a regular one and popped it on an easel. This is not even a TV easel. It's like the cheapest easel I could find. And it holds my TV pretty perfectly, I think. And it sort of makes the TV look a little bit less of an eyesore. I like to think it's still a big black box in the living room, but I don't mind it. I don't think you really need to hide your TV. I know that's kind of like a faux pas with like real designers. But me, I'm like, you know, I live here, so I want to have the TV accessible. Also in this corner, I actually have a little closet. It's full of stuff. That's like my storage closet. I have all the doors that I removed from the rooms in my apartment just kind of jammed in there. But I didn't want to like completely close that space off because there's the cutest little window in there and it lets in like good natural light, which I love natural light. But I just threw a beaded curtain up and sort of catty cornered the TV so like hopefully no one will notice all this stuff. I believe that hat is from maybe Senegal or the Congo, but it's basically a hat. I thought that could be another fun way to sort of zhuzh up the TV, like add another little pop of color. I like that it looks very handmade. It is handmade, and I love sort of bringing in things that are a little more organic in addition to all the sort of like hard lines and structure, things like that. My living room is also kind of like the crash pad hangout spot for everyone. This couch has seen better days. There have been a lot of spills, a lot of vicious cat attacks if you kind of look closely, which maybe don't look closely, but you can see where my cat sort of like took a lot of his frustration and anger out. But I do love the shape of this couch. I saved up for a long time to get it because I thought that it was a little bit cooler than the traditional square sectionals. So I really wanted to make sure it was comfortable as well. This one's pretty deep. The cushions are pretty cushiony. So when people come over, like they go to sleep on here, which maybe means my parties aren't that fun, but it's nice. We also have this half pink wall. It was not my intention to have a half pink wall and a half greenish gray wall, but I painted the wall pink probably 2.5 years ago now, and I really loved it. I added this chair rail wall trim in the middle. And it looked really cool, but it always felt a little unfinished to me. So I thought, what else can I do? What else can I do? And I decided to put the chair rail around the entire apartment and paint that. I had always intended to paint the pink white again. I thought it just made more sense and it would look a lot more open and airy. But I kind of fell in love with how the pink looks, at least for now. We also have these shelves that I put up. I put these up literally probably 2-3 weeks ago. I had always wanted to do something in this corner. It had been empty. I just had like, I think 1 or 2 pieces of art hanging with the that wall sconce there. But I had a bunch of decor that I wasn't using. Most of this decor is thrifted, even though that vase there, that urn, that's actually from Amazon, which I still can't believe I got that on Amazon. But I love how this corner feels a lot cozier now, a lot more lived in. It also has my that's my statue guy. I nicknamed him Loki. So I don't drive, which is like, I think that's kind of a unheard of thing in LA, but I've never driven. I'm from the East Coast originally. So when I want to get something or pick up like a piece of furniture on Facebook Marketplace, I have to get creative when it comes to getting the items. So that statue was actually in Inglewood, or maybe like really, really south LA. I knew I wanted it. I knew that I did not want to pay for someone to pick it up for me. I didn't want to like bug my friends to give me a ride. So I took my little push cart, that like the grandmas have when they go and do their laundry. I took my push cart on the bus. I took like 2 buses and walked a mile to get that statue. And it is very heavy. And this little old lady was selling it. So she couldn't help me like lift it, pick it up, nothing. But I put it in my cart. I took it back on my 2 buses home, carried it up like 2 flights of stairs, and I'm never getting rid of that now. Unless someone breaks it, which hopefully that never happens, I'm stuck with him for life. That's just one of my many statues in here, actually. I've got little figurines and busts everywhere. This one is actually not thrifted. I think it looks kind of vintage, but it's from a Black-owned business that's based here in LA, Effortless Composition. I love the owner, Brittany. She's so sweet, and she like curates and finds the coolest stuff. This is from her. I have some other stuff from her and Effortless Composition as well. One thing that I really love about my living room is like having little things that my family have given me in here, especially since my family is so far away. It's nice to sort of look around and see reminders of them. I have actually down there on the floor a picture of this is where I keep some of my spare linen and tablecloths and things like that, but that is a picture of my grandmother on my mom's side. I never got the chance to meet her, but I love the photo. I think it looks so cool, and it's nice knowing that, she's kind of watching over me occasionally. I usually keep it on the floor, partially because it's hard to hang things sometimes. I just get a little bit lazy, but I thought it added a little something to this sort of console area. These are just from Target. I think a lot of people have the exact same like little console table media center thing. So I just thought putting some art on the floor would make it look a little new, a little fresh. I really do love lamps. I don't know if it's because they are functional or if it's because they're pretty, or maybe it's like a little mix of both, but wherever there's a spare corner or an empty surface, I'm like, can we fit a lamp in there? This is a lantern actually behind my couch. That is an outdoor lantern. It's from Mackenzie Childs. I had my eye on that for a long time, and I was like, I need that. I don't have any outdoor space, but I knew I wanted it. So I just keep a candle in there. And occasionally I'll like have it lit and I'll switch out the scents, but I really like that. It doesn't add much light, but I feel like it's like a fun little thing to look at. I got this lamp from an Instagram reseller actually. I had been stalking this girl for a little while on Instagram. She like also finds and curates the best stuff. All of her things are vintage, really unique and quirky. She drove all the way from San Diego to drop this off. I love this. This lamp has been all over my apartment, in my bedroom, used to be on the console table over there. I literally move this lamp and everything around all the time just because, you know, you get bored with stuff and it's fun to see how things will look if you put them in a new space, give them a little bit of new life. I'm not really sure about these curtains yet. If you look closely, you can tell that they're a pink gingham. I think if you pull back, they look purely pink, but they're not purely pink. They do have a pattern, and they have these cute little bows at the top. It's very girly, which isn't normally like me, but I've just been embracing pink lately. I'm in my pink era, and I love that they're very feminine, I think. I don't know if I'll keep them. I may go back to just a nice white, off-white linen, but for now, I kind of think they're fun. I think they're really cute for summer. Funny story about these curtains, I actually got them from the kids section. Sometimes I feel like the adult decor is like a little boring, it lacks color. So whenever I want something like fun and different, I literally shop the kids section at like every decor store, Pottery Barn, Crate and Barrel. If there's a kids section, I'm in there. That's where these are from. And then I have this bench. It's sort of a leftover from my boho days. I used to really like boho decor, rattan, everything. I don't so much love that now, but I couldn't get rid of this bench. I got it for a really good price actually, and now when people come over, it gives me like a little bit of extra seating, and when I'm here alone, I can pop some of my favorite books on top. And I'm actually maybe one of the only people I know who reads my coffee table books, or at least I look through them all. So I have a few that I really love. This is a photography book. It's called Black is Beautiful, and a lot of the images in here are just really pretty. I think it's nice for people to flip through them when they come over if they want. And yeah, I've got actually Kelly Wearstler's interior design book. I love her. Everything she does is like so good. So my boyfriend actually got me that as a birthday gift one year. And then he took me to Kelly Wearstler's hotel that she designed in Santa Monica. So it was a really good birthday that year. I started sharing my apartment on the internet pretty much when I moved in here. I had really loved decor and thrifting and vintage everything even before I moved in. Probably since college, I would like go thrifting and find weird bird cages and bring them back to my dorm. But I really feel like I got the chance to explore a bit more with this apartment. It was the first apartment that I like really fell in love with the bones. This apartment has crown molding that's original, original wood floors. I feel like I really got lucky here, so it was easy to start really decorating how I wanted. And I think that I had just been following so many people that I look up to, so many designers on social media for years now, and I was like, you know what, like maybe I can do it. So my personal style, that's a tricky question. I think I'm still sort of in flux deciding what the word is for my apartment. I definitely love things with a little bit of Parisian flair. I like old things. So I'd say maybe I've got a little bit of eclectic Parisian, just maximalist core going on in here. And anything with like patterns, I really love that. I really love adding texture. I love layers. Because I just love stuff so much, I'm always trying to figure out how can I get more of it in my apartment without making my apartment look like a hoarder's den kind of thing. But I recently just got patterned curtains. They're gingham and pink, which is a little bit much, but I thought it would work possibly. I love a good floral print. I love stripes. I love plaid. I think the tricky thing is trying to figure out how to get everything to work together. So I usually stick to a more muted color palette everywhere else, like the walls, but I don't know what came over me. I decided to leave the top of one of my walls pink and paint the bottom like a soft greenish gray. I don't know how long it'll stay like that, but right now I like it. Now we're in another corner of my living room. There is more color as well. We've got, it's hard to pick up on camera, but the door is actually light blue. The color is called light blue, actually, from Farrow and Ball, I think. I decided I wanted to paint the door on a whim. So I first painted it white probably 4 years ago. Recently, I just was like, I need more brightness in here, more color, and I didn't realize that the black was sort of making this whole corner of the living room feel a little bit darker. So I painted this light blue. This color, which you may not be able to tell, it's slightly different. This color is Cromartie from Farrow and Ball, and it's a little bit green, a little bit gray. I think it depends on how the light hits it. I like how much more open everything feels in here. We have this sort of faux entryway situation over here. This was another thing that I sort of put up the first week I moved in. Actually, I was like, I need to have some shelves, and I didn't know how to do floating shelves properly, so I just got brackets from Home Depot, spray painted them, spray painted the cheapest like wood board I could get from Home Depot as well. And I use this sort of as like the drop zone in my apartment. So I've got my keys here, my rings, a little hand sanitizer. But I also have a few pictures of my family here. They're really small. I don't have like too many photographs of real people in my place, but I do have these ones of my family. I've got my dad when he was really young. This is my grandfather and my dad and my uncle. They're very old, so it's like black and white vibes, just to give you a sense of the age. And then we've got a picture of me and one of my sisters and my mom. So I thought that was cute. And like when I'm like running out the door grabbing my keys, it's sort of nice to like look at them and then, you know, dip. There's just like a few random things. I've got another little bust here. This one is also from Effortless Composition. I really like this one. It gives me a little pop of color. I've got disco balls because you've got to have disco balls if you live in LA. This corner is actually a work in progress. It's still sort of coming together. I don't think the lamp is going to stay here, but this lamp was kind of the most epic. I found this on the street. It was like in the trash pickup area where people just like dump the stuff they don't want. So I found this on my birthday actually. I was leaving a ramen place, which is like right up the street from me in Koreatown. We had a few drinks and my best friend offered to carry this for me in her heels. So she literally like walked it up the hill. It was free, and I've looked this up online. These kind of lamps go for just a lot more than free, typically. The whole corner, actually, I think is either thrifted or Facebook Marketplace finds. This little cabinet, I got it from Facebook Marketplace. The gentleman drove it all the way from Torrance for me. I've gotten really good, I think, at talking to Facebook Marketplace sellers. I think, and this is like my secret, I guess I'm gonna share it with everyone, is you have to like compliment them right off the bat, but you can't be too interested because then they'll know that they have like a really good find. So you have to be really nice, go out of your way to like give them a little kind word, and then you'll have people who offer to drop off items for you that are really heavy. I just mostly use that for bar stuff. We're a little light on supplies right now, but eventually it'll get filled up again. It is the weekend. I've got another statue here. This one has lights, so this is really fun at nighttime. I sometimes turn this on to get a little extra twinkle, this statue. And this mirror, it's a pretty epic mirror, I think. If you look closely, you'll see a lot of imperfections and stuff. These are things I can't help at the moment. I think I'm gonna need to get someone who can clean behind the glass to get rid of some of these spots. But I got this from the Habitat Restore, the Habitat for Humanity Restore. I love shopping there. They have so many good vintage things, and all of their proceeds go back into Habitat for Humanity. So it's like, you know, you get cool stuff and you help other people get cool stuff, a house maybe. It did need a lot of love and fixing up. It was completely shattered from, or like separated from the frame when we brought it upstairs. So I had to nail a lot of things together. I had to like glue the frame. You can see like all of the staples I put in there because it literally was falling apart. But now it's here. I don't think I'll be getting rid of this anytime soon either. This corner is pretty different from the rest of the living room. It's a lot darker and heavier. I actually did not want that vibe. I didn't really want a dark and heavy vibe. I wanted it to be a little lighter and airier, but I really hate painting original wood. It's like kind of pains me when I see people doing their like thrift flips, which always look cool in the end, but I'm just like, no, I hate to see you get rid of the old wood, the cherry wood that has like so much character. I initially planned to paint this mirror. I thought I might paint it gold or just sort of strip off the dark original color. I can't bring myself to do it, at least not yet. I don't think I'm a good enough DIY either to really do it justice. So for now, we just have a very dark corner. It gets a little lighter when I turn on like my candle warmer and these like little twinkle lights up here. This is kind of the best spot for selfies actually. So when people come over, you can turn this on, turn these little twinkle lights on, and you can get like a really good mirror selfie vibe going. So you've got to have your mirror selfies, and it's nice when they're right next to the drinks. I actually bought it in 2023 at the end of last year, but it didn't end up shipping until the beginning of this year. I got it from Lulu in Georgia actually, and it did cost me a little bit, but I was like, I know it's gonna look so good in this corner. I actually had to downsize from my old dining table, which was a lot bigger, but this one I think just looks better, packs a bigger punch. But so I'll sometimes have like my friends sit here, but because the table's so small, we still overflow to the couch, overflow to like my comfy chair. Sometimes people just sit on the floor, which that does make me feel bad as a host, but what can you do? You know, let them ground, I guess. I think what I love most about my home, it's kind of like a two-part thing. You can't tell right now, but usually my apartment gets like the best light. The windows that sort of sold me on this building, this apartment, they're huge. They take up almost an entire wall of my apartment. So when the sun is out and we've got like some good weather here, it doesn't feel like we're in one of the busiest neighborhoods in LA. It feels like we're somewhere cozy, like tucked away. So I love that. I love the natural lighting we get. I also just, you know, this is like maybe a little less concrete, but I just love how it feels in here. Usually like my friends will come over and we'll just like have a drink or two, have snacks, vibe. And I love that people kind of get comfortable. It's not like we're not very precious about things in here. I think it's just like a good vibe spot. Let me take you into my kitchen now. This space, I actually have a love-hate relationship with the kitchen. It's pretty big considering the size of my apartment, but I am not the biggest cook. I can cook, I just choose not to. My boyfriend does most of the cooking in here actually when he's around. But I do love the idea of a big kitchen. I love like decorating a kitchen. This room still needs a bit of work, still needs a bit of love, but there are some fun things in here. This is a sort of a touchy subject on the internet. I used to have a sort of a full line of cabinets right here, but I took a saw to them actually and sawed the cabinets off so that I could bring in this cabinet. It has a little bit more storage, and I like to think it's cuter. This just holds like my teas and spices and stuff. That's the one thing I do enjoy, even though I don't really cook very much. When I do cook, I love to have seasonings, and I like to have them like easy to grab. My sawed off cabinets, I feel like now you can barely even tell that I cut them in half. We sort of repainted everything, replastered, filled in all the holes, evened out the sort of line right there. But again, you don't have to like get too close into there. We also have my sink area. It's definitely an old apartment, and you can tell it's an old apartment by the kitchen, I think. My landlord just kind of gave me the landlord special. I really like my landlord, but they definitely painted everything white in here. So they painted over the original tile. They painted over like the cabinet door hinges, literally everything. So I've been doing some things piece by piece. Like I painted the cabinets dark green. This is a green from Clara Paint actually. I changed my faucet and I got this pretty gold one. I really wanted the faucet that has like a double bar, but I was on a renter budget and I didn't want to spend a ton of money, so I got this, which I still think is really nice, and I can sort of spray it around, move it around, which is cool. I also added these peel and stick tiles. They're very renter friendly actually. Like when I was applying them, I messed up a ton, but when I would like pull them off to restick them, they didn't mess up any of the old painted tiles. I actually did a checkerboard pattern, which was very monotonous, and the pattern, I actually did mess it up a little bit if you look closely, which again, just don't look at anything too closely in here, but I think if you zoom out and you pull back, I think it looks pretty cool. You know what, it is funny, they gave me 2 sources of lights in this kitchen and really none in the living room, but I got these light fixtures from Terrain, which is, I think, like Anthropologie's sister brand. And I hung these myself. I added these ceiling medallions. The ceiling medallions are new and they are a little smaller than I had imagined. I think they are definitely a lesson in reading everything when you shop online. I thought they were going to be a lot bigger, but I just didn't read correctly, so they're quite tiny, but still cute, I like to think. And I think they add a little more of a sort of elevated, maybe Parisian style to an otherwise kind of boho light, which I like. This rug isn't vintage. It's one of the washable rugs that you can just grab from Ruggable. And I like that it's washable because otherwise I don't think I would have a rug in the kitchen. I imagine that if I cooked more, it could get very dirty very quickly. This one is washable. I have washed it. Normally I kind of use it to cover up the paint that I spilled on the floor when I was painting. My cat stepped in the paint and his little footprint is down there, which is cute, but I'm not sure how I'm gonna get that out when it's time for me to move. So my fridge, it's the closest I could get to a Smeg fridge, basically, without paying the Smeg fridge price. I just got this one and I sort of begged my landlord to let me bring this in and get rid of the old, really tiny white refrigerator that was here originally. This doesn't fit a ton of food, but because I don't cook that much and because it's only me who lives here full time, it works for now anyway. If I move, I may end up leaving this fridge here, sort of upsizing, but for now I think it's good. I just have a few little pictures, some more family. These are my little cousins, Zora and Zay. I think they're so cute, so I just put them up there and they make me smile whenever I see them. And then we have my boring stove. It's not a cute stove, but to make it look a little more exciting, I just hung these little shelves here. They could definitely use a little more styling, but it's kind of practical. Those are sort of the glasses I grab the most when I have wine with friends. And then I added that little LED light right above so that when my boyfriend cooks, he has a light so he can actually see what he's doing. One built-in that I think is very cute. I haven't done anything really special with this. I think it would look cool with wallpaper maybe, but for now I just use it to hold some of my cuter glasses. I've got a lot of vintage cups in there, a lot of not vintage cups in there as well. And then I have just a sort of mini gallery wall. This is kind of where all the art goes that I love, but I don't really know where to put it. So I've got this, which is actually, when I worked at Urban Outfitters, I worked there for like 2 years. We would get to bring home so much stuff and we got like such a good price on everything. This really wasn't anything for sale, but I thought it was fun, and it's the only word art that I like, just because it says try me. And then I've got some more thrifted things, a little smoking cat up there, which is really fun. It reminds me of my cat. I always think of him as kind of like a surly man who may or may not smoke. Got another lady smoking, which is sensing a theme here. I don't smoke, actually. This was a Facebook Marketplace find that I got a little while back, probably like two years ago. When I do cook, this is sort of where I prep everything. So I'll like chop veggies and stuff here. I make my tea here usually. It's nice because I can sort of like stare out the window at all of my neighbors and see what they're getting into. And sometimes my cat will jump up there. I know it's a little gross when cats get on the counters, but in this house, that's what we do, I guess. But I do clean before I, use this area for food. They're not the most special things, but I do, whenever I can, I do like to switch the switch plate covers and outlet covers in my apartment. I think it makes things look a little more intentional, especially if you have like those old covers that your landlord just painted over a bunch of times. So I just switched mine out for these gold ones that look a little more interesting. I actually am a pretty big DIY girly, a little bit less now. I've found that the more time I have, the more able I am to DIY things. But I sort of got my start doing carpentry, doing various projects. Like I built a really cool chair a couple years ago that was really fun. Now I don't do anything nearly as complex. I'm just like adding legs to an IKEA dresser, that kind of thing. I think first and foremost, when you're decorating an apartment or a house, if you're lucky enough to have a house, I think it's really important to know what you like. I feel like now, especially with social media, we can see what really big, cool interior designers are doing. And I feel like it's easy to feel a little bit of pressure to do what they're doing and do what everyone is doing. It's like universally good, but I think if you have a good understanding of what it is that you actually like, even if that's the trendy stuff, I think you should do it. I found that, people who kind of take themselves and their home decor, their style very seriously, sometimes they may not like it as much as if they just sort of had a little bit of fun with their style, with their decor, if they paid attention to the things that they like that like catches their eye. So my biggest thing I think would be to just go with what you like, figure out what you like, and just lean in heavily to that. And now I'm gonna show you guys my bedroom. We're gonna walk through a little hallway to get there. It's not the most interesting hallway, but I've done a few things in there. Before we get to my bedroom, we have my little hallway. It's not super special, but I do have a lot of mirrors in this hallway. I have a lot of mirrors in my apartment overall, actually, because you gotta do a good mirror check at all times. So I've got a mirror here. I use this for putting my contacts in. A mirror here that I use when I want a little more of a full body shot. There's a mirror here. Like there are a lot of mirrors. Okay, and this is my bedroom. This is my bedroom. I like to think of it as sort of the pink cave of my apartment. I really leaned in with the pink here. We've got 3 pink walls and then a pink wall mural on the back wall. It's a lot, and it did take me a little bit of time to get used to the color and to decide that I actually love the color. But now that it's been up for a while, I've had it painted, I think, maybe like 6 months or so. I really do love it now. I have another gallery wall in here. I love gallery walls and I love art, I guess. This is also sort of a new addition. I have some things that are vintage. A lot of these prints are actually new, but they look vintage, which I think is really cool. This is one of my favorite prints. It's just like a reproduction of a Josephine Baker painting, but I think it looks really cool. I don't really love traditional plants. I like clippings. I like flowers a lot, but you won't find too many actual potted plants in my apartment. I think just the mix of having to take care of them as well as having to deal with bugs, it's just not really my favorite thing. But I do love greenery, the look of it. So this actually is faux. You can probably tell it's faux, but I still think it looks nice. I've got some dried florals here. I think they just really sort of break up all of the pink actually. And then I do have some live clippings. Those don't require any dirt, so I'm okay with those. I consider them to be more like flowers than plants actually. My bed it's definitely haphazardly made. I was making it up when you guys got here. But the one thing I do like is to add pattern to my bed whenever I can. I know it's a little bit much for some people having stripes and florals and pink walls, but I kind of think it really adds to the cozy factor. Whenever I can, I go for linen bedding. So I love that linen bedding is getting more fun now. So this is striped and it's colored, but it still feels really good. This is from Piglet in Bed, actually. I love their linen. And then I have just this little fan. I got that fan back when I was still working at Urban Outfitters, actually. So I've had this fan for maybe 5 or 6 years, something crazy like that. It's been in almost all of my LA apartments. I don't know that it technically works in here, but I like it a lot, so it's gonna stay there at least for the time being. I added some sconces on either side of my bed. I wanted to do something to get more lighting in here, and I thought that would be like a fun way to do it, so I just have these little hand hooks holding up the lights. This light has been the bane of my existence for so long. Because this apartment is so old. I think it's from like the 1920s or the 1930s. The electrical is really, it's very shady, to be honest. So I've had this light and the electricity go out at least 3 or 4 times. And every time the power goes out, the entire light fixture goes out as well. So I've had a boob light in here. I've had a really nice vintage chandelier. I've had no light actually for like a year and a half. Nothing at all was up there. This is my newest thing. I'm really hoping this one doesn't go out because I love it. It's from Mitzi actually, and we added the ceiling medallion just to make it look a little more finished. This side of my room it's sort of a hodgepodge of things that I like. So I've got like 3 different dressers in here. They're all very dark wood, but they kind of remind me of like Beauty and the Beast. A little bit, this dresser especially. So this one was another Facebook Marketplace find. I could not pack this up on the bus, so we had to rent a U-Haul to get this one. But I do think it was worth it. It gives me like a ton more storage, and I just keep like a lot of my extra bedding in here. My cat is a hairless cat, so I keep all of his sweaters in here so that when it gets cold, he has a place where I can easily grab his clothes from. The curtains were another mini sort of DIY project. The walls in here are kind of funky. They're sloped, like they go into this cave-like shape. So I was trying to think of how I could get curtains up without having them be super short and low to the ground. So I thought, well, maybe I can hang them from the ceiling. I sort of made this somewhat janky little DIY rod with just chain and some C-hooks. I just screwed those into dowels from Home Depot and painted them black. And I kind of feel like it gives my room like more of a cottage kind of feel a little bit. So I like that. And then I have just my chair in here. Usually this chair is filled with clothes. It's not usually very cute or clean, but I got rid of all my dirty clothes so that I could show you what the actual chair in the corner looks like. So this is wallpaper, and it's the traditional wallpaper, but I really didn't want to put traditional wallpaper on the walls in here. I guess that's where I draw the line with renter-friendly upgrades. So I put this up sort of doing a little fun hack. I used basically double-sided tape to get this up here, so it's really removable. It comes down easily without messing up the paint. And I think you can't see a lot of the print because of this huge dresser here, but I still feel like it adds a little bit of something to the room. This huge bus right there, that was another gift from my boyfriend's dad. I don't know I'm not sure like who his clients are, but he's a contractor. So whenever they have cool stuff that they don't want and he doesn't want, he gives it to me. But I love that guy. He just sits on the floor right now because he's too heavy to go on any type of furniture he'd break without breaking it. I do have these like wooden beads. I really have no clue what they are, but I thought they looked really cool. And I think I got them for maybe like $39, which to me was kind of a good price for them. But I used to have them on my coffee table and it looked kind of beachy, a little too beachy. So I thought maybe I can hang them from something and they might look cool. Well, this dresser was another project that I did, and the internet had thoughts about it. A lot of people didn't love the color, which I don't love the color either now that my walls are pink, but you know, it does its job still. I basically just added legs and these dowels for handles. One day I think I'll stain the handles a different color. I may or may not paint this again, but for now, again, I do like it. I've got, of course, more Facebook Marketplace finds. This huge mirror, I do love it. I've never bolted it to the wall, but it's never moved, it's never fallen down, and it's great when I like do my makeup and stuff in the morning. I've just got like a little cabinet here where I keep all of my like scents and perfumes and things, so I really love that. I think what gives a home its soul, I think it definitely depends on the people that live in the home. I think that also is affected by what you bring in. I bring in a lot of stuff, a lot of vintage things, a lot of new things as well. But what I've been doing a lot more lately is just being a bit more intentional with the things that I get, the things that I find. And I think I've noticed a little bit of an energy shift in my apartment because of that. Like, you know, if you buy into the whole vintage things have energy sort of side of the internet, I feel like you'd be able to tell that sometimes you get things that maybe have the energy from the previous owners, and I like to make sure the energy is good. So if I'm bringing in anything, even if I'm inviting people in, I want to make sure that they're contributing to the overall feel. They're not messing anything up, not physically, but just energy-wise.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Allie. Welcome to my apartment in Colorado. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Allie Sutterer. I'm a content creator and interior decorator. Welcome to my apartment in Denver, Colorado. So we moved into this home in about 2022. At first glance, I was not so keen on it. Everything was painted this sad gray, but this was in our price range, in our neighborhood, which I love. The neighborhood has a lot of historic buildings, this being one of them. It was built in 1930. Whenever we rent, we're always looking for a historic place. I would much rather live with the quirks that come with an old building than have like a sterile, modern space. Nothing wrong with that. I think you can do a lot with those spaces, but for me personally, I love the detail that an older building gives you. I think it's such a fun way to then mix in modern pieces as well as antiques, and that's very much my style. This apartment has seen many iterations through the about 3 years that we've lived here. When we first moved in, I just wanted everything white. I wanted it to be a clean slate. And then over the course of a few years, I have really used this space as my canvas and experiment ground for finding my personal style. I feel that I've finally, in the past year or so, really landed on what I want the space to be. Now we've landed at a nice, modern, but traditional kind of funky mix. So it's definitely eclectic. All right, so here in our entryway, the first thing that I'll point out is this door was just plain when we moved in, and I knew I wanted to add just a little bit more character to the space. So we added these DIY moldings to the door. We just stuck them on with command strips, so they're easy to take off. And then this is where we come in, throw our keys down, sunglasses, what have you. This area has seen many iterations, but my favorite piece that we've had here is this solid onyx pedestal. I found this on Facebook Marketplace for $200. It is extremely heavy. It comes apart in 4 pieces. It used to have another piece like this up here, but the original owner told me that it broke during one of his moves, but he originally had it imported from Italy. I imagine it was much more expensive when he bought it, but I got it for $200. So pretty happy about that. I will hopefully never get rid of this. Some thrifted artwork. I think I thrifted the frame and then took a piece of art from a book and created that piece. This is actually a little tea light holder. I don't have a new tea light in there right now, but that kind of lights up as a lamp, and I always have fresh flowers here and then in another place in the living room, if not other rooms in the house at all times. I just get them from Trader Joe's and I have fun building a little floral arrangement. This is not my favorite one I've ever done, but it works for today. Or I had a brass mirror here before. It's like a polished brass, and I recently discovered that I don't really love that look, or I did at one point, and I've kind of evolved past that. So I'm more into these silver chrome elements, and so this frameless mirror in this more traditional shape was the perfect mix right here. So over here, as you can see, we hang our coats and bags. Usually this is just stocked full of coats. I live here with my husband and our dog, and so we've got lots of things hanging. This is another thrifted piece that I've had since we moved in, and it's hanging by one nail, and we pile this thing high with big puffer coats, wool coats. We live in Colorado. We have no idea how this is still hanging on the wall. It is a miracle. So knock on wood. I'm big on knocking on wood, that never falls. And then over here, this was a more recent addition, maybe this summer. I think I picked it up. Also Facebook Marketplace. It is a little bit more of a red tone than I'd like it to be, but I think it still works in this space. What I do love is that the dental trim up here really mimics the dental trim that I actually added to the bottom of the crown molding when we moved in. This whole room had crown molding, but I wanted to add a little more detail, so I just added chair railing that was like a foam, and it is mounted with mounting tape and caulk and painted and everything. So this I added, and then I loved how this mimicked the same design and pattern. This is a tension rod lamp, I believe it's called. That's what it looks like. From the mid-century. When I used to sell vintage furniture, a fellow vintage furniture seller in the area was selling this piece, and so I got that from her. I have a couple other pieces from her as well. Look what Jackie found. Great Instagram account if you're in the Denver area. This was thrifted at the Ark near my parents' house. The print actually came in the frame, and I just decided to keep it. It's like a torso. You'll see that I like body parts, which sounds kind of weird, but I just think that they're beautiful and funky. And so we have another hand right here. This is something I coveted for a while in a lot of my travels, like either in Europe or even in Mexico City. I would see these old Victorian door knockers, and I went on a Facebook Market trip to Colorado Springs, which is an hour and a half away. The person ended up bailing on me when I got down there. So I was supposed to pick up a larger piece of furniture, and they bailed, and I was frustrated. But I said, let's just go see what they have at the thrift store, see if we can make it worth it. And this is what I walked away with. It was small, but I had been wanting one of these. So I just have it here. I'm not gonna attach it to the door. It's super heavy, but a little leopard that I picked up in Mexico City. These are also little, I think, coconut shells that are carved, and the kind of face and body part theme. These are also from Mexico City. This was one piece that my husband actually contributed. It's petrified wood bookend. A lot of this apartment is my design and things that I've chosen, but I remember seeing these in his, I guess, bachelor pad bedroom, and that was one thing that I actually really did like. So we still have those. And this is just a stool that I found in a pair. The other one's in another room. I found these at a local estate sale. I found these before I had really come up with a color scheme for this space. And so these were partially the inspiration for the dining room paint color that you'll see in a second. And then closet, we're not gonna look in there because I don't want to give you nightmares. Just, I think adding a little tassel to a doorknob adds like a fun classic touch. And now in the kind of main living area, again, this room has seen many iterations throughout the years, but we have landed on a more modern but still traditional setup here. So I originally had a patterned Turkish rug, a vintage Turkish rug in this space, and I loved it. But after a while, I was craving a little bit more calm and simplicity. And so we recently got this rug from Rugs USA. It's just simple taupe, does not distract from the other elements in the space. And it's really soft and cushy on your feet. This is an inlay little box, little ceramic bananas. Again, things move around here. I actually forgot that I put this in here, probably as I was moving things around, but my best friend gave me these. I think she got them in Japan. I eat a banana every morning. It's my favorite fruit. So just a fun little thing from a friend. Over here, this chair was a battle, has been and still is a battle between me and my husband. Originally, I was the one who wanted it. He's a big reader and has back issues and sometimes works from home, and so he really is particular about the ergonomics and the comfortability of a chair. He needs a chair in our space to sit comfortably. And so this is not a real Eames, it's a knockoff, but it is vintage. Maybe it was built in the 70s, it seems. I have no idea, but originally I wanted to bring it in and replace a rocking chair that he had. He put up a fight and now he loves it. And now the tables have turned and I want something a little different in here, but he insists that this is his chair and he needs it. So maybe we'll get it reupholstered at some point. It's seen better days. And then this piece here is another Facebook Marketplace find that I believe you can still buy today. It's originally very expensive, but again, I think this was $200 for me. So that was great. I was skiing at the time that I found this, and sometimes you have to jump on it. So I was up in the mountains, but my sister was right near where this piece was, and I wanted to make sure that it was mine. So she was so gracious. Her and my brother-in-law went and picked it up and brought it over while we were out of town. So that's kind of a special memory there with that piece. And it was a little big for this space, but what I did was I just pulled the credenza forward and layered it behind, and I think that's a nice hack that you can do, layering art and furniture at the same time. This is our TV, and it's not a frame TV, it's just a plain old TV. I did make a DIY frame for it about a year ago, and I had fun with that project and I liked the look of it for a while, but I recently just decided to embrace the fact that we have a TV. We watch it every day. This bowl I found at an antique store near my parents' house. This piece of art is from the same vintage seller as the tension rod lamp that I showed you earlier. Since getting rid of the DIY frame, this wall is in flux a little bit, still needs some work. Things are always changing in this house, which keeps me busy and honestly keeps me happy. So if there's a project, that's kind of the way I like it. This piece is from my vintage selling days. I got a whole bedroom set in this style and we've loved it. It stores all kinds of things, home improvement tools and materials, and dog toys and leashes and extra magazines, all that good stuff. This is a little drink table that floats around. I use this daily. I sit here in this window nook and put my coffee here. I will bring it up to the sofa like such, and that's my little spot right there. My husband sits right there, and although we have a large dining room, we usually, unfortunately, are right here watching TV, eating our dinner. So not the most glamorous, but that is daily life over here. So over in this corner, this is probably my favorite spot of the whole apartment. Because we don't have outdoor space in this unit, I wanted to try and get as close to a balcony or some sort of indoor-outdoor living. And so my solution for this was to create a nook as close to the window as possible so that, especially in the summertime, I can open these windows up and I'm as close to the outdoor as possible and catch that fresh breeze and look out the window. And so this piece was another lucky Facebook Marketplace find. It was, again, say it with me, $200. That seems to be the magic number for me. These are originally from Ballard Designs, and when I got them, the skirts were a little bit lower, and the velvet was a almost chartreuse lime green color. So I lived with that for a while. I never loved it that way, but I recently pulled the trigger and got them reupholstered in this mink gray eggplanty faux mohair that's really high quality and durable, and then just went with a tonal chocolate velvet pillow to keep it really sleek and nice. We also raised these skirts a bit, again, to kind of just eliminate some of the visual detail that was there before. Behind the nook, you'll see this little, I don't know what to call it. It looks very spiritual. That was not necessarily the intention, but I think I like the idea of it feeling spiritual in a way. It's just a shell that I found thrifting. I went through a big phase of liking like little cherub characters, which sounds really weird. I really love like European architecture, and so I think that's where that comes from, but I found these thrifting. But I put my used matchsticks in there, and it's more so for convenience, I guess. I could just put them in the trash can, but I just end up collecting them here. And I do kind of like the idea of them being a symbol of time past and like accumulating memories. That's sort of the artist in me, I guess, conceptual artist in me, thinking of those things. So I don't know what you would call it, an altar? That sounds a little too intense, but that's that little vignette there. And then these are 2 pages curtains. They're really high quality and I love them. There were ugly blinds here before that we took out. And we just use these whenever we need to filter out the light. Over here is a vintage sort of Art Deco walnut cabinet I bought for our old carriage house that we lived in. And I knew that it was a piece that I wanted to carry through future homes when I bought it. And so I was determined to find a place for it in here, and it just sort of fit naturally, creating this vignette here in the corner of the living room. This mirror is a newer addition, again, vintage from Facebook Marketplace. I had another 70s more ornate. My style used to be a little bit more ornate, which I've kept some of that, but am leaning more towards simple, clean lines these days. So I switched out the more ornate one fairly recently to this beautiful vintage mirror. It's larger scale as well, which I think helps open up the small space that we have here. These are vintage iron, bronze, not sure, heavy metal candle holders. And I think I found these on eBay a while back. And when they arrived, it was at our old place. We had our neighbors taking care of our apartment, and the pokey little tails were sticking out of the box that it came in. And so I just will always remember when our neighbor sent us a picture of a little like snake tail hanging out of this box, and them thinking that I was super weird and insane, which that's partially true, but I just think that they're so fun and funky, and I love those. This is a bit of a chaotic corner, but we make it work. We don't have a ton of storage in this space, so we have this woven basket for extra blankets and linens and things of that nature. It also hides what is a sort of chaotic happening back here. I plan to eventually create a base for this vintage lamp, but because it's just not quite as tall as I'd like it to be, so we just have books piled under there, propping it up. So this sofa, you're not gonna believe me when I say this, it was $200 on Facebook Marketplace. You can't make this stuff up. So it's an IKEA sofa. I did pay $200 for it. And it is a slipcover sofa. It's the Farlov sofa from IKEA, which unfortunately I believe is discontinued. Not sure why, because it's a great piece. It is slipcover, and in my opinion, I think that is really the only way to do a white sofa. I'm constantly cleaning this. Our dog is allowed on all furniture. We have no willpower, and so he takes over the whole space. And so yes, it gets dirty constantly. I'm constantly taking off the covers and washing it. But my philosophy is that I think you just have to have your priorities, and my priorities are having a comfortable, livable home that's also beautiful. So in that case, I have to put up with dog fur and stains on occasion. So nothing is too precious in here, but we love this sofa. I'm really drawn to bold, neutral patterns when it does come to pattern. Outside of that, I love color drenching and building tonal interiors, so different shades of the same sort of muted color. You'll see that throughout the home where I've chosen a main color and brought in different tones of that same color family. And I like kind of segmenting those colors within one space rather than dispersing lots of different colors throughout. I did not come into this space with a particular color story in mind. It sort of evolved as the years went on. I think it's really important to live with your space and live with some of the main pieces in it for a while, and that can spark ideas over time. Other pieces to bring into your space, paint colors, and how you want things to become cohesive. A tip for going about building your own personal style is to think about the things that you love and absolutely bring them into your home. The only thing that I would look out for is if you're blindly bringing things into your home that you love, but it's not feeling so cohesive, then try and find the through line with what you love and curate from there. Now we're stepping into the dining room, and as you can see, we have totally color drenched this room. The green kind of came about through trial and error. Originally this was painted white when we first moved in because we did that in all of the rooms. I originally thought that I had wanted a light dusty blue in here, and I just could not figure out the correct blue for this space. And so I started looking around at different furniture pieces, and like I mentioned before, this set of stools, which the other one is in the other room, inspired me to look into some dustier muted greens. And so this is Acanthus Green by Benjamin Moore. And for a while it was just the walls and the trim that were painted. And I knew eventually that I wanted to do the ceiling, but I just put off that project for a while. And it was going to be the same color as the walls, but I decided to play around with a tonal effect. So I ended up going with a darker green, just a shade darker on the ceiling. And all of the wall and ceiling paint is matte, and then the trim is a semi-gloss, which gives it kind of a nice contrast in terms of sheen. It brings down the light in this space quite a bit, but in a really nice, cozy way. For the floors, we decided the floors in this old apartment, we're renters, so we don't have too much control over. They have seen better days, I'm not gonna lie. So I wanted to cover the floors as much as possible and also just create like a cozier space. So we went with a sisal, and this room is almost a square. So we just went with a square sisal rug, and it's holding up great, and it's not too scratchy on the feet either. Here we have another archway and a little original character moment for this older building. This is where they would normally put a phone and then a phone book underneath here. But of course we just have cell phones these days. So I switch out the decor that is in this space. To be honest, I haven't fully figured out what I want to do with this space, but As you can see, I painted this little eye sculpture the same color as the walls just to kind of blend it in. That was another Marketplace find. This piece is by an artist named Noah Schneiderman. I believe that's how you say his last name. When I was trying to pursue art, I was part of a critique group here in Denver, and he was also part of this group. This was one of the pieces that he had brought to our critique meetings, and I just always loved it. And then he was selling some pieces for a pretty inexpensive price on his Instagram one day, and so I snatched this piece up. For a while I didn't know where it quite fit because it's this bright blue color, and I was wrestling with what was the color story in this home going to be, and does this fit? So it's kind of been on the walls and off the walls for a while, but I finally landed on it here. I think the pop of blue breaks up kind of the continuous color theme and makes the space feel a little more authentic and lived in. So if you're afraid to add a color that seems out of place, just try it and it might still work. It might make it feel a little more interesting. This was a piece that was made in 1994, which was the year I was born. I also grew up dancing, and so viscerally, like the leotard and everything is just like it's a very familiar feeling to me. And again, I love body parts. I don't know why, but I just think this is such a special piece. I put everything down when I found it on Marketplace, and I drove straight to where the person had it. And it looks like bronze, but it's actually fiberglass. And so it's fairly lightweight. And I think it was just a cast of someone, because you can see the texture of the leotard and all the little wrinkles. And I love how realistic it is. So yeah, that's a very special find. This is an Asian room divider. I've always loved these pieces. I love room dividers. I think that whether or not you're trying to divide a space or not, I just think that they are a great textural, sculptural, three-dimensional piece of artwork. And so that's what we've used it here for, to fill out this corner and create some layers in dimension. These are the only two houseplants I have. I am not a green thumb. These are the only survivors. So they haven't grown much in 3 years, but they are still alive and they grow a little. We've propped them up a little bit. This is a really popular piece. I get so many questions about this piece, and when I was selling vintage furniture, that's when I picked this up. Everyone wanted to buy it off of me, but I refused. Luckily, I had found one before and sold that, but then I told myself the second one I find is going to be mine. So this is a vintage 70s oak lamp. It originally comes with smoked glass orbs, which I love smoked glass, but I knew that I wanted a bit more of a cleaner look, because with the smoked glass you could see the light bulb on the inside. And so I just picked these up. They happen to be the right size. They just sit right in there. These are from Home Depot, which is great because if any of these, knock on wood, were to break, I can pretty easily replace them. I think they're like $6, those orbs. So that's a great hack. Look for Home Depot or hardware parts that maybe you could switch out with vintage lighting. You might come up with something new and funky. This piece, Facebook Marketplace, I think it's like vintage 60s or 70s mirror art. Again, kind of continuing with this modern globe orb theme that I love. This piece is a bird's eye maple vintage cabinet, also found on Facebook Marketplace. The original owner said that it belonged to a ship captain, and it actually opens up to be a desk, but I'm not gonna give you nightmares, so we'll keep that closed. Over here, I used to have white curtains similar to the ones in the living room, but I have since switched them out to a more tonal look. These are just IKEA. I can't remember the name of them, but they've kind of been having a moment. I've been seeing other people get these exact curtains. They have some other colors, and they're pretty high quality for the price. And I got lucky. I had already painted this room, and this color just fit perfectly. It didn't need to match exactly. I kind of like that it's slightly off, but it really works in this space. This piece I'm super excited about. My dad and I created this last weekend. Because our radiators are inset in a weird way, it was difficult to find something off the shelf to cover them with. So it had to be custom, and my dad is an amateur woodworker, I would say, and subsequently so am I, because I've worked on these pieces with him. But this is, yeah, it was a labor of love and just a time to spend with my dad. I could have had it custom made by someone else, but I think it was a really fun, special project, and we're both really proud of it. So that is a DIY, but I wouldn't say it's an easy DIY, but you can do it yourself if you have the right tools. Over here is a cabinet, again from Marketplace. Eventually I plan on doing a curtain behind here, but so that's a project to look forward to. But we just have more books, some knickknacks. I have some content creation items that are just, they're not exactly pretty, but they're handy to get to there, so I just leave them there. Up here is a photo of my parents. I just love this old photo. I found this when I was working on an art piece years ago using old family photos, and I've just always loved this, and I recently found it in a little keepsake box and brought it into this room and thought it looked beautiful. They are creative people in their own right and just goofy and curious, and some of my favorite people, so I thought I should display that in this space. This box in here is special. I got this at an estate sale the day that my husband proposed to me. When I bought it, I had no idea that he was proposing later that day. So over here in the dining setup, our dining table is custom made, but not for this space. It's been here for a few years. We got it on, again, Facebook Marketplace in my selling days. It came with a pedestal that I sold because we didn't need that, but then I kept the table. It fit perfectly in this space. It is burl wood laminate, so not real burl on top, but what I like about that is that it's really not too precious. It was built in the 90s by the man that I bought it from, so I'm only its second owner. The chairs are brand new to me. Again, Marketplace. This is wild. It sounds like an ad for Marketplace. I didn't even know that I had this many pieces from them, but my dad picked them up for me because they were near his home. And then I recently recovered them in this leopard fabric. I've always been a fan of, again, bold, neutral patterns. I'm really stepping into what I've always enjoyed. I would wear snakeskin printed things and leopard printed things as a child, and so I feel like now in my 30s I'm kind of coming back into what I've always loved, and so that's what these chairs are for me. They only came in a set of 4. I typically have 6 chairs around this table because it definitely fits 6, but I am waiting for the perfect captain's chairs to find me. So again, design sometimes takes time, and that is an ongoing project, which I love to keep busy with these things. So I'm not too mad about that. Simple calla lilies in a glass vase, I think is so chic, and I don't think you can go wrong with that as a nice home floral arrangement. This piece up here is, I used to have a paper lantern I love the oversized look, and I, about a year or two ago, switched it out to be a nice linen shade. Just adds more of a softness and I think feels a little bit more intentional than the paper shade. It's from Etsy, and I get comments and questions about it all the time. It's a crowd pleaser. So yeah, the oversized look just again brings in more modernity to this space, which I love. I think what gives a home a soul is the little imperfections, whether that be through vintage furniture or not taking your things too seriously or not having things be too precious. I have a messy husband. I'm a little bit messy myself. A dog, and we have a white sofa and dark furniture. He has light fur. He's allowed on all the furniture pieces. We spill. We have vintage furniture that is imperfect. Our apartment has cracks and nicks everywhere, but I think that gives a space soul because it tells you that people live here and people have lived lives here even before us, which is what I love about an older home. I think the best compliment that someone could give me about my space is that it feels very unique to me. I have experimented a lot in this space, and it's been a challenge to focus on what I like and what I want my space to look like, especially with all of the inspiration out there. It can be difficult to create a space that really feels your own. So the best compliment someone can give me is that it really feels like me. So moving on to our super tiny kitchen that I actually do love. This space, although it's tiny, it gets a lot of use. And what I love about it is that it's really sectioned off from the rest of the spaces. I'm not a huge fan of open concept, generally speaking. I like to come in here and cook and make a mess and then relax and not have to look at it until I then come back in and clean. And so this way, it being tucked away, you can kind of forget about it. But it's also really efficient because if it's just one person in here, you've got all this counter space surrounding you, and I love to cook and it does come in handy. Because we're in a rental, there's some quirky things about this kitchen. I would love to completely gut and renovate this kitchen, but it's not an option. So we have covered the countertops with a vinyl cover. Do not look closely at anything in this apartment because nothing's even, nothing's perfect. And so these have actually seen better days, and so I'll be recovering them with a slightly nicer vinyl. But for now it works. This is peel and stick backsplash tile. We left some of the original tile up on this shelf. These cabinets did not come with any doors for whatever reason, I don't know. But because I like open shelving, I decided to leave some space for displaying slightly prettier objects. Of course, we use this space, so it's still functional, but then we hide some of our more unsightly kitchen appliances and spices and all of those things behind these curtains, which we put up. And then, of course, more storage up top with the wicker baskets, baking supplies. I don't bake a lot, so things that we just don't use very often. This little photo is just hanging by command strips. I think it's nice to add a little framed piece of art in your kitchen to just make it feel a little bit more homey. This was actually a postcard that our friends sent to us when they were on a longer trip to France. Always have a table lamp on your kitchen counters. I think it just, again, makes it homier, makes it feel like a cozy space that you want to spend time in. These are, I found these on Home Depot surprisingly, and they're inlaid salt and pepper shakers. Again, bold, neutral pattern. They're kind of funky. I just love them. We have some of our mugs here, which are mismatched, and even more back here. This changes all the time because we're using these items. We have even more glassware back here, some vintage ceramics, and of course blue and white. I don't have them displayed right now, but whoop, I do have a few. I love funky, I love modern, but I do have some traditional bones in my body, and so I love blue and white. And I also have another blue and white plate here. I love a plate on the wall as well. And so I try to combine the traditional and the modern, and that's sort of the tension that I work within when I'm decorating a space. So over here we have some more signs of life. We have even more postcards and memories on the other side of the fridge as well. Of course, this is always changing as people send us stuff or we collect little moments from our lives. Magnets that are mostly food items from some of the countries that we've visited, old photos from specific points in our relationship, postcards that people send us, and so this is a living space in our kitchen. So I've always been interested in design as a child. I saw my mom decorate her home. We had a really good family friend that was into interior design as well. So I think it's been in my vicinity since I was young. I ended up going and studying art at CU Boulder. And then the pandemic hit and I decided, as a thing to do to pass the time, I decided to start selling vintage furniture on Instagram. So I created an Instagram account and kind of fell in love with creating content through that. I had to create content for people to see what I was selling. So that was how my original account started. I continued that for about 4 years, and in that time I also started working full-time as an interior stylist for a home staging company. I learned so much at that job, left that position after 2 years, kind of didn't really know where I wanted to go from there. I wanted something creative and remote so that I could just have flexibility in my days. So I thought that I would go into graphic design, but I, of course, ended up falling back onto interiors because that is just my true love. And so the universe brought me back to interiors. People from my vintage account kept requesting that I help them decorate their homes, and so I eventually gave in, and now I do mostly virtual, sometimes in person, interior decorating consulting, and it's something creative that I can do wherever I am typically, and content creation has made that possible as well. I'm able to work with people all over the country, even the world, helping them come up with a plan for their space, and it's really rewarding work and really fun creative work. And now I'll show you our bathroom. So now we're in our bathroom. I have not done too much in this space. All we've really done was go in and paint the walls a similar yellow as our super cute vintage tile to see it go. And so I'm happy that our landlord has chosen to keep these tiles for now. They could be in better shape. This whole space could be in better shape. But again, it's old and has that original character. And so we just went with a sort of color drench with painting the walls yellow. We've lived with this for several years, and in this new year, I do plan on making a few changes, possibly adding some peel and stick wallpaper and potentially making it a little bit more of a moody space. So I'm really excited for that project. I'm not sure what I'll do yet, but the wheels are turning. So this space is cute and cozy for now. So now we're in our bedroom. This is a 1-bedroom apartment, so this is the only bedroom. Our initial iteration of this room was white. Again, we painted all the walls white when we moved in because they were gray everywhere. So it was white for a while until maybe a year or a year and a half ago. And I chose this dusty mauve color. It is Venetian Portico by Benjamin Moore. Luckily, the ceilings in here were this peachy tan color. So this actually worked out well. We didn't have to paint the ceilings in this space. It ended up being that color drenched two-tone look that I like. So we went with the original ceilings. We switched out the light fixture. There was a ceiling fan that was broken and ugly, and so we switched it out for this Capiz style ceiling light and medallion. I just color matched the ceiling to paint that piece. And with the bedside lighting, again, it was getting pretty traditional in this space. It still is leaning more traditional, but I wanted to add a modern piece to break up the theme. And so these are just from H&M, and they happen to almost match perfectly the color of the wall. So I love that tonal and color drenching theme, even within walls and furniture items. You can kind of bring it outside of the walls and create some more dimension with 3D pieces. This is a Facebook Marketplace find. Surprise, surprise. I knew we needed something wide on each side of the bed to act as a nightstand as well as dressers. So we kind of have his and hers moments over here. They don't match completely, but they are similar in shape and size and tone of wood, and that works for me. I think, again, when things are just a little bit off, it can help make a space feel a little more authentic and less decorated, if that makes sense. So these are really functional pieces. This changes a lot of the time. I usually don't really have this space decorated very much just because it's so functional. Sometimes I'll have flowers here, but we have them on the other side today. And so yes, just jewelry storage, if I'm being honest, on a day-to-day basis, clothing, life stuff. It's usually not this pretty in here, but I made it pretty for you guys. And then over here on the bed, I just have a Target bedspread that's nice and textured. This was a recent DIY hack. I got the fabric from Folio Fabrics and covered what is just a Wayfair simple headboard that was very inexpensive. I covered it with nicer fabric to kind of create a custom look. And then we just have a bed skirt to finish off the bed. This pillow, I get a lot of questions about on social media, and unfortunately I don't have a link. I don't have the name. It was Facebook Marketplace. It was not even local. I had it shipped here because you can actually find smaller items on Marketplace that are shippable. And so I think this came from Arizona. I think another interior designer had made this custom for a project and was getting rid of it for whatever reason, and it fits perfectly here. Again, bold neutral pattern, browns, kind of goes with the tonal feel of the space. And then to have a space really to put clothing on and other sorts of life junk, that was the function of this space, but today it's cleaned up. This bench was a Marketplace find, and I love leopard. This pillow was on our sofa at one point, but since I added the leopard to the chairs, I needed to take it away from that space and who knows, it might live here for a while or not, but it's there right now. And then just some storage under there for extra clothing. Over here is a vintage mirror, more traditional. I love like a gold gilded mirror. Used to have another one in the living room, but now this is my only one in here. Great for checking your outfit. And then these pieces I got actually as a partnership with the Habitat for Humanity Restore in Denver here. We did a partnership together and I found these at one of the locations in Denver and they were a little bit banged up. And so I just kind of restored the frames as best I could. And I just love the matting on it. Feels really luxurious. They were really inexpensive, as you can imagine. And they're sort of like little playing cards with women on them. I don't really know the story behind them, but I think they go really nicely. Stacked right here. Our dog's bed that we've had for a while. The pattern was not intentional for this space, but I think it works. The rug in here is vintage. I got it for $50 on Facebook Marketplace. It's a vintage, traditional Persian maybe rug, and this is what inspired the mauve color for this space. We used to have it in our dining room. Was not feeling right, and then we brought it in here. It's really soft and plush, which is nice to stand on in the morning, and was the inspiration for going a lot warmer in this room. This piece was also a thrifted find. It could definitely be in better condition, but again, I'm not really super precious with most things, and so potentially we will refinish it one day, but right now it's over in this corner and this is my husband's side. I actually rarely go over here, so it doesn't bother me too much that it's imperfect, but it came with these knobs that perfectly matched the room. We always argue, which I think people with partners can attest to this, about piling things on surfaces. And so we got this box for my husband and he keeps things in it, and honestly I kind of need one too because there's just never enough storage. So that sits here. This is a little trinket that we picked up in Mexico City, and these curtains are just from Amazon, I believe, as well as the rods. They're super inexpensive, but we didn't really need anything that fancy in here. This is my husband's guitar. It's a little dusty because it doesn't get a ton of use, but he likes to tinker around on it. He's I think secretly talented with writing songs and singing, although it's just a hobby for him and he doesn't do it too much anymore. But this is here for him to use, and I don't mind it as a little piece of decor. The word home means a space to experiment and discover yourself. Like I said, this space has been a canvas for me to work with, and a space even for trial and error. And I'm very thankful that I have a place to discover myself in and express that through hosting the people that I love and bringing them into what I love. It was so great having you over, Homeworthy. A dream come true for me. But for now, I'll have to see you next time. Bye.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Shel, also known as FB Market Slut, and welcome to my apartment.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, my name is Shel Milgram, also known as FB Market Slut. I'm a UI UX designer, and right now we're in my apartment here in Bushwick. So I found this apartment kind of via Craigslist. I was here actually for another tour and of just an apartment in the area. And then my broker called me and was like, hey, actually someone just rented the apartment. Well, how can I help you? What are you looking for? And I said, I want an apartment that has 2 to even 5 bedrooms, but the only caveat is that every room needs to have a window. And he said, well, I think I might just know the space. And he showed me this 3-bedroom apartment with 1 bath, but the toilet and the shower are separated. It was a disgusting apartment when I first came to see it. Like, you walked in and the smell was so bad it hurt your eyes. And it became my home. Like, right on the spot, I took it. Everything that I have in this apartment is sourced from Facebook. So it's been a really long process. I've been here for almost 5 years. And anything I find interesting from Facebook, I'll pull into this apartment and kind of reconfigure the space so that I can fit all of these like beautiful items. So it's kind of less on need or function and more on opportunity of when I find a piece that really appeals to me and my taste. And then comes in space and function, which is also very important, but I guess secondary to opportunity. Welcome to my apartment. So this is my living room. I have a variety of pieces, as you can obviously see, and everything is sourced from Facebook Market, which includes this long console that I have here. It's a Besta cabinet from IKEA. Great piece. They still sell it at IKEA. Highly recommend it. It's a great piece and has so much opportunities for storage. And for me, it's more of like a passive storage for things that I don't really need to access too often. It's like also behind this sofa, so it's hard to access, but perfect for putting shit away that you don't want to see. On top of this console, besides my TV and a few plants, I have my stacks of books and magazines, which include a lot of Vogue, Bergdorf Goodman catalogs, art design textbooks, and some kind of like cool magazines like O32C. This is my Murano glass vintage lamp, and I believe it's from the 1970s. I have 2 of them, and it's one of my best Facebook Market finds. And this apartment not only has like a lot of art design books and magazines that I refuse to throw away because I'm low-key a hoarder, I also have a few of my own paintings on the walls here. So this is a painting I did in college, and I cannot get rid of it, but if someone wants to buy it, it's for sale. I am really good at painting faces and humans, and this is one of the studies I did when I was in college. Other than it being technically pretty sound, it doesn't really have much meaning, but to make a lot of the, I guess, paintings my own kind of, because these are all from photographs for the most part, I add food on top of it to kind of give it more of my own identity. One of the biggest challenges when it came to designing this space is making sure I had enough seating. So previously I had just a 2-piece Mario Bellini set. So it was just pretty much these 2 pieces. And then across the way I had another sofa. It was a leather sofa that was facing it. But I was still kind of missing more opportunities for people to sit down. So I think that's maximum, like maybe 7 to 8 people. But sometimes I have parties and I have parties of like 15 people. So it's interesting how you have to balance functionality and aesthetics together, especially in a space where you want to host. I have a lot of these big orbs. I wish I could say they were from Hay, but they're from Amazon, but they're pretty much the exact same. They're these big orb paper lanterns, and I think they're 30 or 32 inches large, and they're fantastic. And I also have Philip or Wiz light bulbs inside, and you can control it from your phone. Very good. Highly recommend. Walking this way, this is one of my favorite plants. It is a Draconia marginata. I think that's what it's called. It's one of my favorite plants because it's a very architectural looking plant. It has these long, beautiful stems or tree base. I don't know what you want to call it. And I have actually a few of them in this apartment. I think I have 3. The other one is in my bedroom and the other, but it's architectural because I guess the base of it kind of grows upwards and then it'll start to curve and twine in really interesting ways, and it's just a really beautiful piece. It's like art, but also a plant. All right, to the left or right in front of the living room here is my bathrooms. And I say that plural, but it's really just one bathroom. We have the toilet here, which I'm not gonna show you because it's not really that impressive. And then we have the shower here, which is slightly more impressive. So if I open it up, you can see that it's kind of like this long closet type space. It used to be filled with this like plastic coffin, discolored yellow plastic thing. And I ripped it out and retiled the entire room. Sorry, it's a bit cluttered. It is a functional space, so only so much can be done. But yeah, now it has this little wall so it can kind of turn into a makeshift bathtub. And it's a lot larger than the plastic coffin that was here before. And a lot cleaner, kind of. I mean, I didn't clean it in preparation for this tour, so I'm sorry, but it's much better than what it was. And kind of going backwards, this is kind of like my entry console space. So when I come in, I kind of drop my keys down over here or whatever's in my pocket, my change, whatever. And this is also where I buzz people in. Wow, so cool. This is really just like a collection that I've, accumulated over time. Kind of forgot where I got this from, but I have these butterflies that I'm pretty sure I got from Costa Rica. This is a painting I also did in college. It was a study of skin tone. It was like one of my face studies. And then this, you can't really see it. It's a little discolored, but I met a guy when I was, I think 15 or 16 at the airport on my way to Taiwan to visit family. And he wrote me a poem, but you can't really see it anymore because it's very much faded. But yes, this is it. Also, you can put your mail, or I put my mail and stuff in this Jaffa container. And then moving forward, I have this bar right over here, which sits right on top of two of my favorite brutalist Mexican chairs. And it's a couple, a straight couple, which is okay in this household. But anyways, this is actually where I'm supposed to put my keys, but sometimes when I'm lazy, I just throw them on the console. And then when I'm tidying up, I hang them here. I have these really cool picture frames that I found on the street. One of which, or both of them came with horses, but I'm not really a horse person. And so I replaced it with one of my favorite covers, or Vogue covers of Rihanna. This is a beautiful picture, and I think one day I'll feel motivated enough to paint it. So this is a loft apartment here in Bushwick, and I have 13.5-foot tall ceilings. That being said, I do have a few lofts in this space because the ceilings are so tall, because why not? Gotta use that space somehow. The biggest changes that have happened in this apartment that were my doing have been the glass bricks that you can kind of see, I think probably behind me. There's another glass brick that's on my left here. I tore down one of the bedroom walls to make a dining room. All right, and then to our kitchen. This is my kitchen. It is not too impressive, but it is my kitchen. I painted my very boring, white, disgusting refrigerator red a few years ago, and I really love it, though it does need a new coat of paint. And I am such a chrome girl that I just needed to have more chrome, and this is the perfect place to have more chrome and it not be weird. Stainless steel is a really great kitchen material, and so I have a lot of chrome and stainless steel in here. That's really the theme, I guess, if there would be one. I got this cabinet. It was actually really expensive. They would not bargain with me, but I love it, and it's very functional despite the fact that it is kind of stained now by stuff. It's my pantry. You can see I have a lot of instant coffee despite the fact I have this very nice, very fancy, fully automatic coffee machine. And my friend's family, who's really into coffee, they have many fully automatic coffee machines. They gave this to me, which was really nice of them. And I'm sure they would be disappointed in the fact that I still prefer my instant coffee. I have 2 silver dish racks. I think they're very common in Eastern Europe as well as in India. And I really love the way that they look, in addition to the fact that they're very functional. I think it might be kind of common knowledge now that I have an addiction to furniture, or more specifically chairs. And so on top of my kitchen cabinets here, I have this longer piece of wood that allows me to stack up some of my chair collection. So I got my Tulip Satinier, I forget what the name of the chair is. That chair. I'm also gonna pronounce the other one wrong. It's like a Chattangar chair, but I got it for free from Facebook. And then I have my Mies van der Rohe cantilever chair, which is the one that's farthest away. And then that kind of leads into the shelving that I have in this situation above my cabinets or above my kitchen. They're IKEA shelves. I'm partial to white IKEA shelves. They're really great, especially for displaying things that are very colorful. And in this case, it's displaying all this random shit that I've accumulated that are kind of related to like kitchen functionalities. This is just like my functional IKEA shelves that have all of my kitchen items. One of the cool features that came with the apartment when I first moved in is this very textured wall. And it's almost the entire wall, except for like the part of this section right over here, which I covered up, thank God. But I love this texture. I forget what it's called. Fresco? I don't know. Fresco wall, something like that. And I love the texture that it brings to the space, especially like when the light is shining into the kitchen. It just adds like that little oomph of detail that you don't really notice until you notice it. And then you're like, wow, that's really beautiful. So this is my kitchen, and as much as I love my kitchen and I love my loft, it has very limited storage. So I've kind of, over the course of 5 years, have brought in as much storage as I possibly could into the space. And I think one thing that I hope that people can relate to is the fact that we're living in our homes, you know? It's okay to have a lot of stuff, and it's okay to have that stuff on display / not particularly organized. And so my kitchen is kind of like a testament to having clutter be on display in a more beautiful way. Hence why I have these like open face shelves up here, kind of like on top of my kitchen, because it needs to hold things. You know, I have like a lot of stuff in my kitchen and not enough cabinets. And it kind of like expands the entire space, even to my silver dish rack over here. And on top of it, I even have like a spillover of some of my personal paintings and posters that I've collected from over the years. And my pride and joy, my washer and dryer in unit, are a luxury in New York. Directly across from the kitchen is where I'm standing right now. I consider this kind of like my listening space / bar. During parties, I usually have like all the alcohol here. I have all my, you know, my fun alcohol glassware here, which includes these wine glasses. I say this with a heavy heart. I used to have a lot of vintage glassware, and I would love to like, you know, use it during parties and stuff, but then shit would break and it would break my heart because they're not replaceable. So do yourself a favor, just buy the generic stuff from anywhere, but make sure it's replaceable so it doesn't break your heart when things break. Yeah, so this is like my listening bar area. I also have some of my albums up there. I have this random National Lampoon's album. National Lampoon's is a comedy skit group where they used to have a magazine, but they made this album for the holidays. It's really weird, but I have it because I'm a fan. This is kind of like my makeshift low-key, low-brow desk office space. So I'll take a quick little seat here. I can sit here, watch TV, and do my work all at the same time. And it acts as like a really great partition between the living room and the dining room. This is also great for when I'm like serving food during parties. Everyone can just kind of come here and access stuff. The only con is that my cats love to jump over like this console in particular during parties, and so no drinks are allowed because they will get knocked over. So this is a USM Holler console. Do not be fooled. I love USM. I love the way that it looks, but their whole shtick is that it is a modular piece of furniture where using these like interesting round knobs or joints, if you will, these long tubular pieces, you can make whatever you want that functions in your space. I think my favorite space in the house would be my dining room. It's like my pride and joy. I think it's what really sparked the massive changes that have happened in this apartment. And it used to be a bedroom. It used to be a really small bedroom here in the corner of the apartment. And when I finally had the opportunity to knock down the wall and turn it into a dining room, it's funny to think about. I had a bunch of pieces of furniture in storage, and I knew that I wanted these pieces in my home, but I didn't have the space for it yet. And so once I knocked down that wall, I was able to, I guess, let loose all of these things that I had stored. And it became the first kind of like unadulterated representation of my my genuine taste. Because here in the living room, it's also, you know, a great representation of who I am, but it's more functional in the sense that like it needs to serve me and my roommates. It needs to serve, you know, purpose and function, and it may not be as aesthetic, though it is now, but it took a while. Like a lot of the changes and a lot of the things you see now are things that I've gathered in like the past year or two. And it's starting to settle down and it feels great, but it also kind of makes me sad that I don't have more canvas to work with. All right, so this is like, again, one of my favorite rooms in my apartment because it kind of is a milestone in me making this apartment my own. And I say that because this actually used to be a third bedroom, and you can kind of see where the wall that separates it as like a bedroom used to be, kind of like right here. And this is a line of paint that I still can't remove, but I knocked down the wall and opened it up to the living room and to the kitchen. And it's become my favorite dining room. Not that I have another dining room, but it's one of my favorite rooms. And one of the first pieces that I installed when I knocked down the wall is this Danish, I think, teak shelving unit. I believe this one's from Kato, but this one is a different shelving unit altogether. And you can kind of tell by like the different ways it holds up shelves. So this one has like an angular peg situation, and on the other hand, this one has a sideways peg situation. Sorry, I can't describe it better because I really don't know the terminology, but they're two different shelving units and I got them both from Facebook for a really great price. And it also holds a lot of my favorite glassware. So I have a collection of vintage glassware, and one of my favorite pieces is this Scott Weasel wine glasses. They have this beautiful kind of like, I don't know, watercolor print, not even print, watercolor design on them. It's a really beautiful technique, and as beautiful, it is as fragile as it is beautiful. Because man, so I mentioned something about wine glasses earlier and just buying the generic stuff because it'll break your heart when your vintage breaks. And this is that situation. So one of my good friends and I were celebrating here in the apartment, and she was like, oh, why don't we use your fancy, colorful wine glasses in the cabinet? And I was like, sure, but please be extra careful because I really don't want them to break. And she was like, yeah, of course, absolutely. And then a second later, we accidentally knock it off the table and it shatters on the ground. And I'm like, oh my God. And she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I'll replace it. And I'm like, it's okay, it happens. And then a second later, I guess her friend, he just like leaned up on the table and somehow that was enough for it to kind of like shake. And then it also fell off. And so we broke 2 glasses that evening and it just like broke my heart. But you can buy replacements. They're not that expensive online, but when it comes to vintage, in some situations, some things are just not replaceable. So I don't know, heed my advice. When it comes to things that need to function on a regular basis, just get the generic shit. A few of the other cool pieces that I have in the dining room are, I guess, some of my framed art pieces. This is something that I drew in college, and my friend who speaks Arabic wrote my name in Arabic for me here. This is a cool Olympics poster, German Olympics poster, happened in Munich. I really love the design of it. And it used to be purple, so it's kind of crazy how it's faded to blue. Then I love bugs. I really do. I think they're really beautiful, and it's funny, I actually have a fear of butterflies. Not in like a, I'm scared of butterflies, I'm going to die way, but when I was younger, actually it was one of my first visits to New York. I was with my parents and we went to the Natural History Museum, and they have like a butterfly room, you know? And while I was walking through the butterfly room, a butterfly landed on me. Beautiful moment, and I'm just watching it flutter and like be alive. And then the man standing in front of me, just like some random dude, I think accidentally swiped his arm over my arm and just killed the butterfly, and its guts and everything was just like scraped all over my arm. And then in that moment I was like, ah! And then I look around on the floor and on the walls, especially close to the doorway where people are like coming in and out. So many dead butterflies. And so I don't like butterflies. They're gross because they're so fragile. It just freaks me out. But I like looking at them. They are like very beautiful creatures. All right, and then above my Danish shelving unit, I have this picture shelf that has a lot of the cool contemporary posters from contemporary art museums from all over the world. When I have the time, I try to collect posters from the museums that I go to when I travel. And it's a big pain in the ass to not wrinkle them and to like roll them up and to bring them along in your travels. So it's kind of, to me, I look at them and I'm impressed that I was so patient enough to do it. But I love the way that they look and I love how unique each one is. My favorite poster that I collected is from the Vienna Contemporary Art Museum. It's this man, it's with very heavy, I guess, impressionist brushstrokes. It says Mumo on top. It's like kind of pink and the picture of the man is using a lot of like turquoise tones. That's my favorite poster. It's a really beautiful painting. All right, and this is my dining table. I also got it from Facebook Market. It was $80 and it is very cute and tiny. It's a tulip table. It's probably a replica of the Sardinen, sorry, I'm butchering that, Sardinen tulip table design. And it's surrounded by my Jean Prouvé standard chairs. These are definitely replicas and they're kind of in like shitty condition, but I got them from a restaurant that was closing down in upstate New York. So I got them for $40 each. And I love red. I love red in interior design too, which is, I guess, why I have this really gorgeous Moroccan rug with these beautiful red chairs. Love the detail. And that kind of leads up to my reading nook. So this is my reading nook. This is my Corbusier chair. My cats mostly use it more than me, but it's wonderful to sit in and just read and kind of observe the apartment from afar. On this platform, because previously when this guy was on the floor, it looked very cluttered. So like when standing on the other side of the room and you like look at this dining set, there's a lot of chairs and a lot of colors going on. And then there's even more happening with the Corbusier and a few other like side tables and plants. It was too much, and so I added this elevated platform, which actually makes this window kind of feel like a floor-to-ceiling window. And I think it kind of helps separate the spaces a little bit better, and it makes it less visually cluttered for the eye. Facebook Market Slut, my Instagram, it came about a little over a year ago, and what's funny is that I had the account for a while. It was under a different name. It was Facebook Market Loser. I've been such an advocate and, I don't know, proponent of Facebook Market usage and like buying things used because they're obviously more affordable, but also you get access to all these like beautiful vintage pieces that you didn't really know existed. It's like a really great like aperture into, I guess, what exists versus what you see, what's currently in style in stores. And so I used it as a way to document all the things that I saw. And yeah, it kind of just like blew up from me documenting things to me documenting my design experience here in my apartment. I think any person that's online or has like a finger on the pulse that is like social media is impressionable. And I'm no different than any of those people. When I guess, browse the internet, I see a lot of like Bohemian or Rattan, and that was like, you know, very popular 5-6 years ago. And then during like COVID, there was a boom in people really loving Seska chairs or Cheska chairs, whatever you want to call them. And I'm no different. You know, I fall for those trends as well. And not that they're bad in any way. Trends are there because we're learning about like a new style and people resonate with that style. And I think in having this apartment and having this canvas, I've been able to navigate those trends, absorb things that I really like that resonate with me, as well as things that aren't popular, or at least not popular yet. Not that that's the end goal, but it allows me to navigate this space of design and find what really aligns with myself. All right, and next we're going to go to my bedroom. But before that, now that you can kind of see a bigger picture, these are the lofts that I have in the living room. They're closed off by these beautiful glass bricks that I got from Facebook Market for free. And they look beautiful when the light is shining through the living room in the afternoon. So this one in particular closes off a spare bedroom, but it's mostly like a storage space. And then the one behind you is just exclusively a storage space. It has like my HVAC unit and my water boiler, all that jazz. My bedroom is right through these doors that I also got from Facebook Market, as you know, or as you could have guessed. And apparently these are from originally a prop warehouse, and so this was probably in a movie or a TV show at some point. But before that, this is my closet. So this is a very new addition to my apartment. I previously had this piece of shit closet in my bedroom that was significantly smaller and way more shitty. And I guess updated this in like the past month and a half, and it just feels so good to have organization that doesn't look horribly ugly. Because before in my other closet, I just threw everything inside and stuffed it so that it would be out of view. And now you can kind of see everything is hung nicely. This is also my robotic cat litter. It worked really well. This is my bedroom. I'd say, despite the fact that it is one of the more personal spaces to anyone, this is actually kind of like my most under-designed space, because I put a lot of my focus on like public spaces. This is like a space where you really only do two things in: sleep. But yeah, only recently have I like had the time and the opportunity to really like put more effort into designing. And there's a few things I want to point out to you. One of which, right up here is my other loft, the only other loft that's not in the living room, and it's my painting studio. And to get there, you access it via this ladder that I actually designed out of scaffolding. So this is a very industrial area here in Bushwick, and there's a scaffolding warehouse not too far away. And I actually commissioned the staff at the scaffolding warehouse to build this ladder I designed. And I have two of them. And one is here to access this loft, and the other one is in the living room to access that loft. And as I mentioned, I'm kind of a painter. And this is a painting that I was commissioned to do recently. I'm actually going to ship it out to my client tomorrow. So this is my other Dracania marginata plant. And as you can see, this one's a better example of it being like a really beautiful architectural plant. And you can see how curvy and unique and interesting its arms are, which is why it's a favorite among interior designers and architects. Yeah, it grows so slowly. So if you ever break off one of these arms, you'll want to cry because it'll take like years for it to grow back. This is my Ultra Fragola mirror. It is by Ittori Sotsas. It is most definitely a replica, but I've been such a big fan of like this mirror and this style for a long time that having the replica is worth it. I wouldn't say that I'm a big reader, but I do love realistic nonfiction, surrealism. I love novels on surrealism. And I guess one of my favorite books that I read recently is I'm a Fan by Sheena Patel. By Sheena Patel. It's a really interesting book on this woman who has an obsession with this married man and his many mistresses. And it has really interesting, I guess, examinations of culture and whiteness. Really good book. I enjoyed it a lot. And on the other side of my bedroom, when I wake up to every morning, is this beautiful display of my stuff. I love milk crates. They come in so many different colors, and most importantly, they're free. You're not allowed to buy them. I think just businesses have them out. Grocery stores just collect them and accumulate them, and they're not allowed to sell them for whatever reason. And so you can just go to any grocery store and ask them for the milk crates. And sometimes if you're lucky, they come in these really beautiful, interesting colors. I think most of the time they're black, which is kind of a shame, but if you're lucky, they come in fun colors. And then these smaller ones right over here that are stacked, those are from Hay, I'm pretty sure. But I like the original milk crates more. Yeah, so this is just where my seasonal shit goes when I'm not using it. And it's great to have, again, open face shelving that just holds all of your things. Yeah, New York is, I think, New York apartments are famously very small and don't have a lot of storage, and so you kind of gotta make with what you got. And in this case, make your clutter look aesthetic by putting them in fun containers. From your friendly neighborhood Facebook Market slut, my word of advice for anyone who's looking to furnish their home with, vintage or just used goods from Facebook is don't rush. If you buy something that doesn't really connect with you and you know that you don't really like it, it's kind of like when you're shopping in a store and you feel half-hearted about something, you're not actually going to wear it. It's gonna sit in your closet forever and it's gonna be a waste of money. The same thing applies with furniture, especially used furniture that you can't return. Wait for it to resonate with you. Wait for a piece that to come up that not only like fits your financial budget, your financial needs, but also aligns with your own personal taste. And don't rush and easier said than done, but don't feel influenced by what's trending right now. Find something that really aligns with what your tastes are. Follow me to my painting loft. Up the ladder. Easy peasy. And this thing can take a lot of weight. I designed it that way. Anyways, welcome to my painting loft. You're the first person who's ever come up here for a tour. And that's mostly because only recently, like in the past month and a half, when I moved my closet into the other room, has this actually been cleaned since I moved in. And now there's actually space to walk around and sit and actually observe and enjoy the view. So if you look past this curtain, you can see the other part of my bedroom. You can see the shelves with all my milk crates and my random shit. And then below the loft where we're standing right now is my bed. As far as cool things that are up here, besides my paintings, I have my Charles and Ray Eames lounge chair ottoman, which does not really function. I have a few broken DCM chairs here. And this is one of my best Facebook Market finds. This is a Herman Miller shelf. I don't know if it has a specific name, but I got this for $380, which is insane. Even like used. This is, I think, the best find I have in my entire apartment. Oh, actually, I have one more thing, but you won't see it because it's in storage. Yeah, it's where I keep a lot of my painting tools. You can see all like my oil paints here. And I don't know if this is controversial. I hate painting with oil painting brushes because they're too hard. Like the bristles are too rough and I don't know. I feel like it just leaves a weird texture on your canvas. So I like to use like acrylic and watercolor brushes. And you can kind of see them in here. So I learned how to paint when I was in high school. That was like, I guess, the first time I ever oil painted in general. And I learned to paint from my community college professor, Julie Kirk, who is an incredible teacher. And I would highly recommend, if you're like in Irvine or in Southern California as a whole, take any of her classes because you'll learn so much. And she's also an incredible painter herself. And one of the long-lasting habits that she taught me as a painter is to use a picture frame as a palette instead of anything plastic. Use glass because it's not only easy to like scrape off the dried paint when you're done versus having, I guess, the oil paint on plastic will stain. But yeah, you have like this massive palette that is like accessible to you versus having something smaller that stains, and I feel like it affects your paint in some way or another. But yeah, use a picture frame as your oil painting palette. Best piece of advice that I learned from her class. This is a really nice portrait that I did. It was another like face study and I really like it, but I was gonna add falafel to it that I never finished, which is what I'm covering up with my hand because it's really fucking ugly. But yeah, this is a nice portrait that I was supposed to give to my friend for their birthday, but ended up not because of the really ugly falafel that I did not finish. I have a lot of plants up here. I have a big plant collection. It's kind of smaller right now on account of, I had a bad bug infestation, like the little white ones that just, I don't know, consume all of your plants and turn them yellow so quickly. And the only way to kill them is through pretty much like, I was about to say carbon monoxide. No, hydrogen peroxide is the only way to kill them. But then it kind of hurts your plant. Yeah, so I have a big plant collection, but it's not that big anymore. The feelings that I have being in this home, it's kind of like, I think everyone can relate to this, but it's like room temperature, where you don't feel it, you can't really begin to describe it. It's just there because it's your space. And it's kind of like the air touching your skin. You can't really feel it, but it's warm, or not warm, because I guess it's room temperature, but it's like, it's your temperature. And so you can't really feel the difference between your skin and the air and your air and the home and the space that you are in, because it's all you. This home is everything to me. It's also a space where I get to be creative in, and where I can physically, and I love being, I guess, creative with my hands, like hands-on production. And that is the space to me, where I have so much control over what things look like, and even beyond, I guess, beyond more flexible things like furniture. I've made a lot of cosmetic changes, like the glass bricks behind me. That's like a cosmetic change that will likely be permanent in this space. And so this has been like my canvas, and it's my work of art that I'm constantly editing.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.